You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Tremaine Hemans, managing attorney at the Hemans Law Group in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here. How are you, Ben?
Good. So happy to have you today. We featured you back a while back. We'll get to that in a minute. So just to say you have your own practice, immigration law. You're doing immigration law in all 50 states. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
When we first featured you, you were about to study for the bar, because when I went back to your story, it said JD after your name. And
yeah,
you have a firm. It's amazing. It's amazing to come back, see the progression, and have you on the show. So welcome in. I'm excited to talk to you about your story. It's very compelling and one that a lot of people will want to hear.
I'm happy to be here.
So what's up in Florida? Like, are things on the rise? Like with COVID, like, are you guys still buckling down? Like what's
buckling down? Florida never really did anything to buckle down, just being honest with you. Like Some of us are, like myself and my friends, but in general, our state's pretty much going the way of Georgia, where, private businesses are taking a little more, responsibility than our governor and the government. So
right, I know we see it on the news all the time. I'm in central Massachusetts, so Florida, kind of a hot spot. I love it down there. We actually had our first Lawyer Stories networking event there, like right before COVID hit. We had one down there with another group. It was in Miami. It was like so much fun. So hopefully we can do that again. I do love South Florida. So to jump right in, like, we did first feature you on July 23rd, 2019. It's been a little more than 2 years.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened since then with you. So just to go through, and it's interesting because I saw we do the updated Lawyer Story, and it was definitely like more, there was a little more to it, a lot, like you were mentioning the stuff from back then, but there was a lot more sort of, I don't even know how to describe it. It was definitely different, like this time around reading your Lawyer Story. Maybe you felt like more, I don't know, I don't want to say accomplished, but like you would achieve some goals. So it's really interesting to read the story back then and the story now. So the story back then, 2019, you start by telling us, you grew up in, and please correct me if I say this wrong, Moneauge, St. Anna, Jamaica.
Yeah, St. Anne, Jamaica. Mm-hmm.
I've been to Montego Bay once, but
that's about 3 hours away from me.
All right,
that's where to go though. Montego Bay is beautiful.
Yeah, no. So you're in Jamaica. Your father. So you tell us how your father got you cable, and you just became obsessed with becoming a lawyer.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I like to ask the guests is, like, when did you know you wanted to be an attorney?
I was about 10 years old, because before then, the only professional really I knew were my teachers and my pediatrician. So I was like, okay, I want to be a doctor. I was really good at school. So, and I'm from Caribbean parents, so you have no choice. There is no, I want to be an artist. I want to be a singer. No. You either doctor, lawyer, or a teacher, or something like that.
Right.
But growing up, I'd never even seen an attorney, much less a female attorney. So I said I was going to be a doctor growing up and everything. And then when I was about 10, my father, I don't know how he did it, like in rural Jamaica, all of a sudden we had direct TV and I had more channels than Jesus. And I was like, okay. So
football Sundays must have been pretty fun then at your house.
Awesome.
Yeah, all right.
My little sister discovered all the cartoons, but for me, I was a really serious kid. So I found Law and Order for some reason. I don't know. I don't remember the day or why.
Okay.
But I found it on the USA Network one day. And I just saw this girl in this courtroom just going at this guy. And I was like, this is awesome. What is this? So I asked my dad, I was like, Daddy, what is this? And he was like, oh, that's an attorney. She's a criminal lawyer. So, you know, she's trying to prosecute the guy that's talking. My dad's very brilliant, he's a brilliant guy. He was in the Jamaica military for longer than I've been alive. Yeah, and he used to go into like the really dangerous communities to protect them from gang violence and stuff like that. So I used to honestly be at home and watch my father on TV in a tank going through one of these crazy communities. Yeah, it was crazy. Really? Yeah, but you know, my dad.
What channel was he on TV?
Huh? On the news.
Oh, your dad was on the news.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I love my father. I'm very proud of, you know, his career and who he was. And he really made sure that my younger sister and I knew that there was life outside of the tiny town we came from. And he wanted to make sure we had all the books and all the stuff. So when he got the chance to get the cable, he was super excited to see how I was consuming everything. And I mean, everything. I wanted to know everything else that was going on and everywhere else in the world. I mean, it's DirecTV. There's like hundreds of channels. So I'm watching this show and I was like, okay, this is great. And then I happened upon Living Single one night on, I think it was UPN or something. Yep. And I was like, there's Black ones too? Like, come on now. I found Maxine Shaw with her dreadlocks and her wicked suits and her wit. And I was like, this is great. This is exactly who I am.
Like it kind of just like, so when you saw that, did you get this like feeling like in yourself, like that's sort of like me, like I want to manifest myself to be that person.
Yes. I was like, everything makes sense. All I do is argue. I'm never wrong.
I've never. I just got chills like hearing you say that, because no, I think it's so important if you have a moment like that, you know, that like, you're like, wow, like that all makes sense. Like, you know, like that's who like I feel like I need to be.
Exactly. And it never really dawned on me like my circumstance, because we come from modest, you know, circumstances. So I didn't really think about that because I'm a kid, you know, so I never thought, how am I going to become an attorney coming from a place where my parents probably even didn't know how they were going to afford college for me, you know? So started reading all the books I could find on the law. Like I said, my dad was really into getting us books, and my mother as well. So she started traveling to the United States for work, and I realized that she would, you know, make sure she bought me all the John Grisham books and the James Patterson books, and I'd sit and read them all. I'm like 11, 12 years old, reading murder mysteries and all this stuff. But I loved it all, you know, because I just wanted to figure out, what is this law thing that I saw on television? Like, how do I become a part of this? So, you know, books are kind of a way to escape into something. But again, like all my preteen years and my teenage years, I never really saw how this was going to happen. But again, because of the incredible parents I had, my mom and dad were already miles ahead of my sister and I. We didn't know what was happening, but she was already trying to prepare a way for us to come over to the US.
And your mom, you said your mom was working in the US too?
Yeah, she'd come seasonally and work. A lot of Jamaican parents do that. That's pretty much how you afford to live a lot of the times. You know, if you don't come from means in Jamaica, if you're able to get a visa to come to the US, then that's what you do, you know? So that was really my first exposure to immigration law as well, through watching my mother.
Right.
So she came here, gave up her entire life to come and stay and work to, you know, put my sister and I through school. We went to a really good high school. She made sure we had everything we needed. And she was pretty much trying to prepare for when we were older, when we finished high school. My dad tells me now that, you know, when we were growing up, they didn't know what to do with us. They're like, okay, this one likes books. My sister's a freaking mathlete. She's a genius. So they're like, we don't know what to do with these children. So we got to prepare for them because they're going to do things, you know? So I came here in 2007 when I was 17 years old. And I think there's a kinship I share with other international students. When we land in the US, it is something different for us, because this is like our chance to, you know, make our parents proud, make our country proud, and not waste time.
First time you were 2007, was that the first time you were in the US or no?
No, we were able to get, my father made sure all of us had visiting visas. Like I said, he was really big on making sure we saw the world, and he'd tell us stories. He's been to so many different countries and he'd tell us all the stories. So my first trip to the US was when I was 11. I was 11 years old, and I remember, honestly, my favorite thing was Barnes and Nobles. I've never seen so many books in my life, and I used to spend hours in there. hours and hours.
Wow.
That was honest. Yeah, I'm a giant nerd.
Awesome.
I've always been. Yeah. So that was cool for me. And so when fast track, when I moved here and I started classes, I was really gung-ho about going to class. I was a straight A student, 17 years old. I had a professor who I became fast friends with, God rest his soul. His name was Dr. Patrick Ellingham, and he took a real interest in me, because again, even though I'm in the US now, I still don't know how I'm going to become a lawyer, and that dream is still alive in me. And I would tell everybody with ears. That's the one thing. I didn't even realize I was manifesting when I was younger, but I've been manifesting this for years, and everybody that knows me knows that. My husband's sitting across from me. I met him the year after I got here, and he'll tell you that at 18, I was telling him that I'm going to be a lawyer. So, you either along for the ride, you're not going to disrupt this.
Do you think that helps do you think that helps to manifest things like verbally? Oh,
absolutely. That is something that I tell all of my mentees that is super important in life. You have to see it in your mind's eye. You have to pray for it. You have to repeat it. When people doubt you, you make sure you tell them that's what you want to do. You have to continuously tell that to yourself over and over, no matter what circumstance. I'm sure there were points in my life where people thought I was crazy because they're like, okay, you're going to community college. You're barely affording to do that. How are you going to become a lawyer? But like I said, for international students, just being here and knowing that you can use your academic mind to, get free money to go to college.
Yep.
Nothing was going to stop me.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Ellingham, as I was saying, he kind of brought out certain things in me that I didn't even know were there. I remember he appointed me as the editor-in-chief of our student magazine at Broward College. And I was like, I don't know why this man is doing this. Everyone's older than me. I'm 17. What is this? You know what I mean? But I was his star writing student. And
that's great.
I think that's where my leadership quality started to grow, because that was the first time I got to lead a team of people. And I fell more in love with words, and him and I used to have debates for hours. School would be out at 4 and we're in his office till 6, 7 o'clock, just going at it, debating everything,
Yeah.
And when I was telling him that I wanted to go to law school, he was like, okay, well, this, and this, and this is what you have to do.
Right.
So that was my first introduction to a mentor. And he changed my life completely.
It's so important to meet somebody who wants to see you succeed, further than they are.
Yes.
Because a lot of people just they want you to do well, but they don't want you to do better than they're doing. And if you do end up doing better than I was just watching something today about this. If you do end up doing better than they're doing, they're just haters sometimes. I think it's important. And this professor sounds like he was, you guys met at the right time, and he was really supportive. So that's great.
He meant every word he said, because he promised me that if I went on and went past my associates, he said, when you get your bachelor's degree and your law degree, I will be at both your graduations.
Okay.
And he was at all of them.
Yeah.
He went to all of my graduations. Unfortunately, he died shortly after I graduated from law school, but he was there. And his son told me after he died that he had my graduation picture posted in his house.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that Dr. Ellingham changed my life completely. So I'm very grateful to have mentors like him, because there have been numerous people like that after that who have helped me.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because
it's so important. I think mentorship is so important, especially wanting to be a lawyer. I think that's just super important.
Yes, definitely.
Wow. So then you made it onto law school. You're in South Florida at law school. What was your law school experience like? What?
Transformative. I'll say that. I think I'm gonna be completely candid with you now. I come from a country where all of the leaders are Black people, right?
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, through all of my formative years, the prime minister was a woman, a Black woman, and she ran shit for always, and she was amazing at it. So I think for me, the first thing I noticed was that there was not a lot of me there.
Okay.
And that tends to mess with your mind a little bit.
Yep. Were you
I
not,
walked
you
in, I
weren't
remember,
really used to that, right? Like you just weren't
no,
used to it.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not used to that at all.
Yeah. Yep.
Even in undergrad, I went to Nova Southeastern University down
Yep.
here, which is a private school, but they have a night program. And in the night program, it's all, professional men and women who already have careers and have families, and they're trying to get this second degree going,
Right.
which is another thing. I got my bachelor's at night while working 2 jobs in the day,
Right.
so those were the kind of people I was around. And a lot of them were minorities. There were a lot of Latino and Latina people and Black people. So
Yep.
that's just what I thought college was,
Right.
So when I get to law school now, and I remember walking into class on day 1, and my section has 75 or 76 people,
Right.
and it's me and another Black guy and an Afro-Latina girl, and that's it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So of course, immediately I'm like, do I even belong here? How did I get here? And how am I going to get through this? Because clearly my people don't do this. And I'm like in a culture shock now, because I remember it vividly thinking, I don't think I could do this.
That's interesting, because I think, I don't know, I don't want to really comment on that, but I think that's interesting that you would be like, I mean, do I even belong? I mean, I get, that makes sense. That makes sense, especially coming from, Jamaica, and like being, like you said, you're not used to seeing the leaders that you saw. I skipped over a question I wanted to ask, which was like, when you got to just Florida, like, what did you think of Florida, like, as opposed to just like Jamaica? I didn't even ask that question. If there's something crazy you want to add to that.
I honestly didn't realize how crazy Florida was until I got to law school. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, all right. So we'll keep going with law school. So you get there and you're like, you walk in. I mean, I can picture like the oval sort of classroom looking at the professor, how it goes up the stairs, and you're just kind of like, wow, okay, like I don't really see like people that are kind of like, like me sort of thing.
Yeah. And it took a lot of soul searching, because it was very hard for me for a few months there, honestly.
Oh, it's hard. I mean, yeah, it's difficult.
And honestly, even outside of the whole race issue, like being a first generation law student is already taxing enough, because you have no idea what you're walking into, honestly, unless you have someone guiding you, which most of us don't, so
right.
Everybody's talking really fast, and people are understanding things, and I don't know what's happening. And everybody, the first thing they're like, oh, you have an accent. Where are you from? And I have to go into like a whole essay about where I'm from. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to learn right now. Like, right. So it was a lot. But aside from all of those things, law school is like the best experience that I've ever had in my entire life. And I tell every person that when they're experiencing the imposter syndrome, is what we call it. Where
oh my goodness.
Where you feel like you don't belong.
And that's amazing. Like I've been thinking a lot about imposter syndrome the last 2 weeks, actually. And that actually came to mind when you mentioned, when you walked in and you were like, do I even belong here? Like imposter syndrome definitely like came to mind. So keep continue.
You're right. Yeah. So that really messes with you for a while. And I think for me, honestly, I went to FIU Law School, and they have an incredible Black Law Students Association, or at least when I was there. The alumni before me, they really made a point to make sure they knew every Black student. They made sure that you knew that you were supported. And honestly, if you expressed it to the administrators at the school, they got it. You know what I mean? Because our school is really a minority law school. Everyone's either Latino or Black. There's really a small Caucasian population, So I felt the support after I allowed myself to believe that I belonged there.
Yeah.
And honestly, once I finished my first semester, there's something that happens to you when you finish first semester and they don't kick you out. You're like, okay, so I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I can do this now. Okay, this is what I did wrong. Let me work on that, and let me try to build on this. And while still in the back of your head going, dang, I could have done this better last semester or whatever. But I made it through the first semester, made a little trouble, because I always say I'm a big advocate for, diversity and inclusion. So I made some noise, at my school. Okay. I did. And it worked out for the students that came behind me. But I think after my first year, I really found my voice, You know, I really wanted to be involved with BALSA, that's the Black Law Students Association. I wanted to be involved with the Women's Law Society. I wanted to be an ambassador so I could help the school, you know, recruit more Black students. I got sent all over the country. Thank you, Alma Miro and Virginia Yescas from my admissions department.
That's amazing.
They sent me to Spelman. They sent me to Morehouse. I went to Howard University.
Yeah, like that was actually a question I had. Like you said, you went from Miami to Europe to DC to
everywhere.
Spelman. So like, how did you do that? That was
through my admissions
program in law school.
Yeah, our admissions department was excellent. They would send students to recruit other students, which I think is genius. No one wants to talk to an old dude about why they should come to Miami. You ask the Miami law student what it's like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's an effective program. We have a really cool crop of students.
Really smart. Here. You know, and I know, like, you know, I was a fraternity president, but I was kidding, but we did the same thing. Like you kind of like you recruit those type of, that's super.
Yeah,
smart.
you send the young bloods in, you know, so that's what they really did.
All right, anyway, this is about you, not me. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Fratman, you sure you don't want to tell your fraternity story?
No. So this is no, that's awesome. So you actually got to, now, had you ever been to these places, or like when you got there where you're like, wow, these are pretty cool, like universities, and like,
of course,
this is why you should come to our school. Did anybody actually end up coming over?
Yeah, I had a few successes with that. But I mean, it's hard to tell somebody who goes to Howard University that they should come to Miami, you know. But we caught some. But for me, I think beyond just the recruitment, getting to go stand on the campus where Martin Luther King went to college, and where Kamala Harris went to college, that was huge for me. You know what I mean? As a little Black girl, like going to these places and seeing all this greatness and this awesomeness was very important, I think, you know, because again, you're still questioning your place in the situation, even years on, because it's still just you and a couple other people that look like you. So that was a really eye-opening experience. Plus my school has such amazing programs. I feel like I'm recruiting right now. They took us to DC on a field trip for like a weekend, I think it was, or a week or so. We got to go visit the actual Supreme Court. We got to go to the Capitol. We got to meet with, you know, representatives from Florida and all of that. So that was also like an education.
What group was that from law school?
It was just, they actually just asked students to sign up, and it was
that's awesome. Like, and you took advantage of it.
I took advantage of everything when I was there.
That's so smart. You definitely did the right thing with law school. I mean, and I think like you can I mean, looking at your experience, and like you could say it's so important to do these things at law school. Like if they offer it, like do it. You know what I mean? Like,
do it.
I think that's really smart.
A mentor actually told me to do that. Her name's Chanel Artiles. That's my main mentor. That's the woman that stuck with me through since first year to like the last now. That's my everything. And she's also first gen. She's Cuban. She's my person. I love you so much. I know she's gonna watch this. Nice. But she told me basically that that's how you survive as a first generation. You need to go to everything. You need to meet everybody. There is no nepotism in your life. So you're not going to get the job because your dad works there, or your uncle works there, or, you know, somebody golfs with somebody. That's not how exactly. You have to go out there, you have to network, and you have to meet people. It was her.
I wish I had met this Chanel, is that her name?
Yes.
I wish I had her, because like she gave honestly,
that was just
advice.
That was just one of,
talk to her.
Yeah, that was just one of the people, because again, our Black Law Students Association was excellent. So I also had other people like Jeremy McClyman and Jeremy Thompson telling me the same thing. Like everybody was like, you need to network, you need to network. But Chanel really was a person that was like, strategically do this and do this thing and do this thing. So I will say, you'll hear me say it over and over, that if I didn't have the mentors I had, I wouldn't be where I am today.
But look, my employees at work, I use this line. I say, you hear me say this over and over every time we get together, because the message doesn't change, right? So like you're telling people this, and you don't even have to preface it by saying you hear me saying this over and over, because the message doesn't change. If you can get a mentor that like cares about you and will has been through it, been through like what you've gone through, to tell you and like lead you the way, learn from their mistakes, priceless. And, like, obviously like you had that, so that's incredible.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in that respect. I'm very fortunate.
Yeah.
And another thing I will say is that I work hard. Like my hustle is like nobody else's hustle.
Yeah. I love it.
What saved me in law school, everybody has that one thing they're good at. I'm an excellent writer. I was a paralegal before I went to law school. That's the part that we
so how long were you a paralegal for? Like, did you work for a while before you went to law school?
Oh yeah. There was a point where I almost gave up on law school because I came here in 2007 and I didn't get to law school till 2016.
Oh, so you took some time off after undergrad?
I didn't take any time off. My immigration status, because you can't really work or go to school when your status is in flux. So after I finished my first degree, I was kind of in a situation where I was like, I'm not sure what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Lucky for me, I'm one of the lucky ones where I found my person in college and he asked to marry me. He asked me to marry him on Valentine's Day in 2009, I think it was. So I got lucky that way. So I got to adjust my status. But in that meantime, I couldn't go to school.
Right.
And the degree program I wanted to do, which his mother helped me with, this is where the surrogate mother comes in. Okay. She has 1,000 degrees in everything. She's an educator. She's been teaching for almost 30 years. Brilliant lady. I remember the thing that sticks out most to me about my mother-in-law is her resilience, because she had, I think my husband was 5 and your brother was 3 when she got her bachelor's degree. And they did a feature on her in the paper with her 2 kids sitting on her lap because she graduated with honors from Florida Memorial University.
That's amazing. Wow.
Okay. So if you're going to listen to a scholar, that's the scholar you listen to. And she would tell me, make sure that you do your bachelor's degree in something you're interested in. So what I was interested in was doing legal assisting because I was working as a paralegal in a law firm. You know, I transitioned from working at IKEA to working as a paralegal in a law firm. But I was like, how do I segue this into a job while I'm pursuing law school? Because for me, it's not let me stop and just go to law school.
Right.
Nobody's paying for anything. It's just me and my husband in our little condo. I had my little Saturn, my little 97 Saturn with the roll-up seatbelts, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out. So she says, okay, do your bachelor's in legal assisting. I try to get my bachelor's done and they're like, there's some credit issues and all of that. So then I had to go back and get a second associate degree.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, which puts me back another 2 years before I could. Okay. So at this point, I'm like, I remember at that point, I posted about it today. There's a picture of me in my IKEA uniform. And I took a selfie that morning because I was like, I have to tell myself to smile because I'd been crying for like a week straight. Like I already told you, like being a lawyer since I was 10 and I'm a scholar, I'm a brainiac. I like reading. I like learning. I have to be analyzing something. So for me to not be able to go forward and I have to go back.
But when they say like 2 steps back to take 1 step, to take a step forward or something. Like
Exactly. So that's what I felt like. I was like, I've been doing this. I've been, pushing, working so hard. And still because of my immigration status and because of circumstances beyond my control, now I have to go back and do something else.
Right.
So that set me back a bit. But honestly, I graduated from my first degree with a 3.8. And with this one, it was a 4.0. So now
Oh yeah, you probably rock and roll. I mean, I can imagine you going in, you're just like answering every question. And just like, you just crushed it. You're like, you know what? Don't even come to class. Like,
oh, trust me, I'm still friends with all my professors and everything.
Oh, that's terrific. So I want to fast forward a little bit. So you were law school, like intimidating, a little intimidating imposter syndrome at first, and then you graduate, you finally get there. Like, what was your first job after law school?
My first job after law school was a law firm in Boca.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was not a good experience.
Okay, I think like a lot of first law jobs aren't good experiences.
Yeah. I was out of there. Honestly, I will say this: they gave me a job before I even had my license.
So what kind of law was it?
Writing. It was immigration. When I was in school, every internship I did was with immigration. I worked for the Department of Homeland Security for 3 semesters, and I worked with this incredible firm down here, Fonte Frizz Garcia. Shout out to Carrie Fonte. She's like the greatest legal mind I've ever met. Her and her now partner, Alexandra Frizz, who is destined to answer all my questions forever in life.
Nice.
Yeah, so I worked at some really incredible firms. I did the immigration clinic at school. So I was pretty prepped to work in immigration before I graduated. So they gave me a job before I got the license. So I'll give them that. And, you know, I worked for a couple of months, but the second I got that license, I was out of there then.
Was it just like, well, I'm not going to ask you anything about the job, like why it was not a good fit or whatever.
Well, let's just say on my first day, I walked in and my desk was in a hallway and there was a perfectly empty office there. And I sat in a hallway for 2 months. So
why? Why would that be? That's weird.
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know.
So, all right. So this was the second job your firm, or like when did you decide?
No, my second job was with the law firm of Jesus Reyes.
Okay.
He is in Miami and he runs a super high volume. Pretty much we did a lot of removal defense. Okay. And I swear I fell in love with advocacy because I'd already told myself, like I said, I worked with Homeland Security for a few years. So I thought I was going to be an immigration prosecutor. I definitely thought I was, but I worked with him and I think honestly, Jesus is probably the greatest boss I've ever had in my life. I didn't understand. It would scare me how much he trusted me. He really trusted his attorneys to, you know, figure it out and do the work. Like you could go ask him questions whenever, but he really trusted you and stood behind your decisions with the clients, you know? And I think that built up a lot of my confidence, honestly, as an advocate. So I got to do really cool things, man, like everything across the board. I'm like an authority now on Venezuelan asylum, and I've never even been to Venezuela.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But I can tell you each and every one of their security force departments, about all the political parties. I can tell you all of that because of that firm that I worked at. And he also allowed me to bring in clients from my own country, because I also found that to be a niche as well. Caribbean people like to work with people who speak with their accent. Okay. They like that. You know what I mean? The thing for immigrants is that it's an uncomfortable situation being in a different country, you know, and then you have to entrust somebody else with your entire life. You know what I mean? Right. So working with an immigrant gives you that comfort and confidence, I feel, which I also learned from him because everybody in his firm was an immigrant. And I love that. Like every single person.
So like, tell me, at what moment, do you remember the time when you were like, I'm going to start my own firm?
Honestly, my husband has never believed that I was going to end up working for anybody. He was telling me that he saw me owning my own firm before I stepped foot into law school. Yeah. But for me, it wasn't until the pandemic hit.
Okay.
You know, and for a lot of associates in the law, there was a quote from me in the Business Law Review about it, the Daily Business Review, my apologies. And it was talking about being a first-year associate in the pandemic. And if you're working in immigration now, this was like the most horrible time in immigration law because they completely chipped away at asylum law. And honestly, when you work, like I said, I worked for a really high volume firm where that was most of what we did. So after like the 8th time of watching someone who is literally running for their lives being sent back to that country, and one of them was actually murdered shortly after he went back, you know what I mean? That's going to stick with me forever. So I think just that coupled with the pandemic, and we worked a lot harder, honestly. Yeah. Young lawyers went through a lot. There's a lot of people, it's not just me, many people quit their jobs because they simply could not just handle the foolishness. You know, it was it was crazy. So it got a little crazy for me. And I felt like my value was better used by myself.
So was this during the pandemic?
During the pandemic.
So you were like, okay, there's a pandemic, but I'm going to start my own firm.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm a pretty ballsy girl, you know?
Yeah, right.
But like I said, I felt like I had learned so much from where I was working, and I just felt like there was this gnawing feeling inside of me that I wanted to do it on my own. And so many people approached me about, hey, you know, I really want your help with what I'm doing. I really need your help. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I work for so-and-so, so you'd have to do it through the firm. And they're like, nah, just let me know when you're on your own, like all the time.
Okay.
So, it was kind of a thing where honestly, during the pandemic too, there was a period where I was laid off for 2 weeks when it had just begun, because he's still not a giant practice. So, you know, I understand why it would be hard to keep on all.
Okay. So there was like sort of a situation of uncertainty, and you're like, I don't really need this uncertainty.
Exactly.
I mean, that makes sense. So you're like, if I'm my own boss, like there's going to be no uncertainty.
Yeah, because in those 2 weeks, I didn't know if I was going to go back to. I didn't know if I was going to.
Any hustler will hustle for themselves all the time, morning, noon, and night. Like I know it. You know.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Because when I was laid off for the 2 weeks, it was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And I was like, well, these people keep asking me if I could do stuff for them. So let me just make a couple calls and see. And I literally had a firm running from my living room.
So you started, did you ever go back when you were like laid off?
Yeah, I did, because at first the security of having a really good job can sometimes be a ball and chain for your growth and for your entrepreneurship.
For sure, yeah.
Because that check is coming in every 2 weeks. It's not going to bounce. One thing about my job, that was never a problem. And he was paying me, and I was happy. I was buying all the stuff I wanted, and all my bills were paid. So the security of my job is kind of what kept me there.
Yeah.
But the feeling would not go away. The gnawing feeling wouldn't go away. And there was an incident that happened, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna bounce. And I did.
How many weeks were you there after?
I was there for a couple months after, about 3 months after.
So let me just tell you, like here at Lawyer Stories, like one thing that I love to do is like connect people. Like that's what we do. That's what I've decided that we do. So if you and I, you know, if we know like immigration lawyers or other people that you can network with, like as a young attorney in a young firm, like I would love to do it. Like if you ever see somebody on Lawyer Stories Instagram that you want to meet and you don't want to just like, you know, you want me to make a warm introduction, like I will be happy to do that for you.
I definitely appreciate it.
Because like, you know, we want to help you out. I think you're definitely like, your story is incredible. And like, I think, you know, you're already a success and you're only going to be more successful. And I think, you know, what's really interesting about this story is that, about your story is that, you know, you were so young when you discovered immigration law, and it kind of connects to like why you do it today.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Can you say that? Is that accurate to say like you?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, were you interested in the process like back then of immigration, and do you think it really kind of helped you determine like what you went into now?
That's a great question. I did mine by myself. When I was adjusting my status to get my green card, it was me and my mother-in-law in the living room. My husband wanted nothing to do with it because he was like, all this paper and ridiculouslousness, I'm not doing this.
That's okay. Well, no, I mean, I think that's actually good, because like some people will be like, hey, like I'll do it.
Exactly, and then mess it up. Okay.
Like, I know the drill. It's okay to have someone take the thing and just do it, right?
But actually doing that is what I fell in love with, the process of it. And that's why I wanted to work as a paralegal. My first immigration paralegal job, I literally slid into my ex-boss's DMs, and I was like, look, I'm a student at Nova and I want to work in immigration, and I think I'd be great at your firm. And he called me in for an interview. I got to learn so much about the process of immigration, and my passion just kept building and building and building with each new experience, with each new professional experience.
Yep.
So yeah, and I lead my firm like that. That's literally my mission statement. Like I've been through this as well. I know what this is like. Your case matters and your story matters to me. That's how I lead my firm. I respect every client that comes in the door. It's more than just making money and pushing paper for me. Like I'm literally trying to help you realize your American dream, just as I was able to.
I love it. And I'm so glad you said American dream, because I want to ask you what the American dream means to you.
The American dream to me, I am living it. Honestly, it is opportunity.
Okay.
The opportunity that just being in America and having something in your head and being able to bring it to fruition if you work hard enough, that to me, because there are certain countries, I know some Americans may never be able to understand this, where you can literally dream all you want, but if you don't know the right people or have the amount of money it will take, you will never see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I tell people that all the time, especially when I come around immigrant mentees. I'm like, look, you go to school, get A's, and people will literally give you money to go to grad school. that's not a thing where I come from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
That's not a thing. Like maybe to a smaller extent, but there is like more grants than I can count. Like it's overwhelming how much money there is out there for aspiring students. You know what I mean? So the opportunities available here, that's the American dream to me.
The opportunities, to take advantage of the opportunities
Yes.
that are in your mind, to be able to execute on those and take advantage. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's amazing. So, and you're doing solely immigration law right now?
Yes, right now I focus on immigration law. I mostly do family immigration and removal defense.
Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome. So like, so Legally Trem, tell me about that. Tell me about Legally Trem.
That is my baby. I started both of my things during the pandemic. I really feel like last year was transformative for me. When I was in law school, I ended up becoming the president of the Black Law Students Association when I was in my 3L year. And I remember when I went to orientation, because the ambassadors would have to go to orientation dressed in our little suits to show the new law students like, hey, you know, if you need someone to talk to, you can talk to me. And I remember this young lady, I was wearing a black and white dress and a blue velvet jacket. She told me this. And she said she saw me walk in the room and she decided that that's going to be my mentor. And she stopped me and was like, yeah, so you're my mentor. What is your name? Kathleen Leon. And I was like, I'm not trying to be nobody's mentor. You know, 3L year, I am tired. I'm just trying to get out of here. I don't want to do anything.
I got a bar exam ahead of me.
Okay. I'm not trying to help nobody cry right now, but she really, the question she'd asked me and her interest in what I had to say and my experiences. And I was like, wow, this is kind of important. Like, that's really what made me realize, like, okay, when I came in here, I wish I had a Tremaine to tell me what to do. Okay. Yeah. I ended up seeking out the mentor, but I wanted to make sure that kids who are not like Kathleen would also have a mentor, because the other young lady I got to mentor that year, she wanted nothing to do with me. Okay. She would be in the library studying, complete brainiac. She's now a bar examiner. She scored so well on the bar, but she was not interested at all.
Wait. Who's a bar? So this is your,
exactly.
Your mentee?
My mentee is now going to be writing bar questions because she's that bright. Okay. Lungini,
I love it. Ridiculous. That's amazing.
Yeah. But she wanted nothing to do with me. But I went in the library, I saw her, and I sat down and I just started talking to her. And I would not stop talking to her. And every time she gets the opportunity, she tells me how much I changed her law school experience, because she's so bright. She's not thinking about networking and meeting people and all of this, but she's also kind of like me. Her mom is a lawyer, but she was a lawyer in Haiti. So she's like the first US lawyer in her family. So I was like, you're going to have to go out and meet people and all of this and da-da-da-da. So from those two, honestly, and from the other students I've been able to touch just through my school, I was like, how can I do this for like a broader amount of kids, like everywhere? We're all on social media. We're all on Instagram. And I found so many legal pages. I found a page called Jazz Talks Law, Becoming JD, Black Girls Do Law. You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of us, we are searching for those communities for help. You know? And I just said,
all great communities.
And my husband, again, who never questions any crazy cockamamie idea I have, he was like, yeah, do it. Like, why not? Of course. You know, so I honestly just had my sister come over. My sister's a vlogger. She came over with her little camera. She made a little video. I posted it online. I was like, let's see what happens. I made a little Wix website for them to sign up if you want to be a mentee. And I have gotten so many signups.
Wow.
So many young people who just want that support. Like, how do I even study for the LSAT?
So basically Legally Trem, not basically, but Legally Trem, you're being a mentor
for other first-gen students.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yes.
That's so cool. Like, and people really appreciate that. So
yeah, they've really gravitated to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. We're gonna have to talk about that. Maybe we can get your link on our website.
Of course, I'd be happy to.
And connect that up, because I really like that.
www.legallytrem.com.
Very good. Very good. So what advice do you have for any incoming law students or anybody wanting to go to law school?
Okay, so for incoming law students, I don't care where you're from, you passed the LSAT and you have earned that seat in whatever school you are at. If law school and the LSAT was easy, a lot more people would be lawyers. So the fact that you have that seat means a lot, and you do whatever you need to protect that seat. And I mean, protect yourself from your mind. You belong in that chair, and as long as you do the work, you will be fine. But you have to first believe that you belong in that chair that you are in. Don't let anybody punk you out of that seat. That's my advice to them. For the kid that wants to go to law school, try, bet on yourself. There's something that my mother-in-law would tell me, because I remember when I was, thinking of going to law school and I wanted to go so bad, I had a real issue with the word no. Like, I'm not gonna even try because I know they're gonna say no. So what's the point of even trying? And she would tell me over and over that the worst thing anyone could say to you is no. And then my own incredible mother, who is the Jesus queen now, she's a prayer warrior and she is the beast of the Bible. And she has always been like throwing Bible verses at me my whole life. And she always reminded me that God did not give me a spirit of fear, but a spirit of boldness. So be bold.
Right.
Try. Just try and see what happens. Give it your best shot and see what happens.
Love it. Great advice. So one last question. I'm curious about like your biggest challenge in immigration law. I know like immigration's had to change a little bit since, the changing of the guard here in the US.
Yeah. Honestly, that is the biggest challenge. Immigration is a living, breathing field, but that's why I love it. I'm never bored, because you might wake up and the law is one thing today. You wake up tomorrow and it's a totally different thing.
Yeah. So
I think that is the challenge, I'm a Taurus, so I like things to be a certain way. I like things to be, it needs to be in line and it needs to go this way. So for me, having to readjust my mind all the time, that's the biggest challenge, but that's also what I love. So I'm never bored. I love what I do. That's awesome.
So like, where do you see your firm and Legally Trem in like 5 years?
In 5 years, I want to be in multiple states.
Yep.
I want a team of other fabulous first-geners, just like Jesus Reyes, a bunch of hungry immigration attorneys. And for Legally Trem, I want it to expand beyond me.
Yeah.
I want to have like a team of mentors from all over the country, from all walks of life, to, walk kids through this journey, because mine's just one story. Like I've heard incredible stories from all over the country, all over the world.
Stories.
Yeah, so that's where I want both my businesses to grow beyond what I can even conceive, honestly.
Right. No, that's amazing. So, Tremaine, did we leave anything out today? Like, did you want to mention anything?
No, I think I mentioned all of it. Shout out to all of my mentors and everything. Shout out to the mentors that helped me build this practice, because that was in and of itself another thing that I was like, it was another hurdle for me to say, how am I going to be able to do this? You know what I mean? And so many people jumped in my corner. And I think it's because I have lived my entire life being a humble person and just being grateful for anyone who wants to help me. And I feel like for that reason, people are always in my corner and always wanting to help me. So people showed up for me in every kind of way possible, starting this practice. And I'm just so very grateful. I'm grateful to every referral that I've been sent, because I've been doing very well since I just started in May. And I've been doing very, very well just based off referrals and my social media.
That's amazing.
Exactly. So I'm really grateful. I just want to say thank you to anyone who's been in my corner, and just mentor somebody, whoever's watching this. If there's a kid asking you a question or you see an opportunity to mentor a law student, please do it. Please.
Well, we love your story here at Lawyer Stories, and like, we will help you connect and with anybody you need to, and keep doing your thing. You're so young, and you're such I'm just saying, like, you're so young and you're such a vibrant and passionate young lady, and I think you have like a lot of awesome things ahead of you. So
thank you, Benny. I appreciate that.
Super pumped for it. And thanks for being a big supporter of Lawyer Stories. Like,
Of course, your platform is incredible. I
Thank you.
look forward to every new story you have putting up there. So,
Thank you.
thank you for that, because that was honestly helpful for even me when I was in law school, like to watch other people telling their stories of how, they found the law and everything. So it's incredible what you're doing. And I've loved watching it grow like this. So congrats to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been like a lot of fun. It's been fun, especially meeting people from everywhere, turning Instagram into something that's just photos into something that's more of a community and like people like based on their stories. But, we appreciate you being here. How can everybody get in touch with you?
Okay, so you can get in touch with me. If you're looking for immigration advice, you can find me at Hemans Law on Instagram. That's HEMANSLAW. My website is www.hemanslaw.com. That's HEMANSLAW.com. You can call me at 754-301-8744. If you happen to find this and you need a mentor, you can find me at legallytrem.com. That's LEGALLYTREM.com. Or you can find me on Instagram at legallytrem as well.
Legally Trem. Tremaine Hemans, thank you so much for being here. Stay
You're
right
welcome.
there. And wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.